Greetings interweb surfers, Patrick here, coming at you with my thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The first ever Star Wars anthology movies, directed by Gareth Edwards, and starring Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, Alan Tudyk, Mads Mikkelsen, Forrest Whitaker, Ben Mendelsohn, James Earl Jones, and quite a few more. And before I actually get into my thoughts, I'd like to dedicate this video to Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. No words I say could sum up how great their acting talent was, and I'll really miss them. Rest in peace, Carrie and Debbie, and may the Force be with you and your loved ones. The basic plot of this movie is that it follows the rebels stealing the Death Star plans. Yeah, that one sentence in the title crawl for the original movie, they're actually explaining how this happened, and I think that's a pretty good plot. I always did kind of wonder how they did it, and kind of expected Star Wars Rebels to do it, but well. And I was reasonably excited for this movie. I mean, okay, even though I didn't see episode 1 when it came out in cinemas, I was still pretty excited for it because I was a stupid kid when I had it on DVD, and it did teach me a thing or two about hype. And Batman v Superman also did that, since I was really excited for it, and it turned out to be a piece of shit. But as I've mentioned before, Star Wars The Clone Wars was a big thing for me in my childhood, and I've really liked Star Wars Rebels, which I've watched every episode of so far. So, yeah, I was reasonably excited for this movie. And how did it turn out? Pretty good. I mean, it's good in places, but in others it's kind of weak and bad, and let's get the positives out of the way first. This is probably the best directed Star Wars movie. In terms of cinematography, it's only really rivaled by Force Awakens. All the effects are also really damn good. The dogfights are probably the best the series has ever had, and Edwards also throws in quite a few points of view shots in these battles, not just for the starfights, but the ground battle on this planet Scarif, which really drives in the scale and threat of the AT-ATs in a way that they haven't really done before. And all of the planets feel really unique, and it definitely has the feel of the better Star Wars movies, being a very gritty and lived-in universe, where everything's dirtied up and messy, not like the cleanness of the prequels. And there are, of course, loads of practical effects, although the CG is still really damn good. As for the characters, while I was mostly disappointed with them, as I'll get into later, there were a few I really loved. Our main character, Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones, was pretty good. Sure, her backstory is a little similar to Rey's, being a little girl abandoned on her planet and having to fend for herself, but she was still quite compelling, and Jones was very good. And she had this little sort of arc where, of course, she had to take care of herself, so put on a brave face, but gradually defrosted over time, which I found to be pretty good. But, I do feel she could have been more interesting, had more screen time given to her. But my favourite character in this movie is without a doubt K2SO, played by Alan Tudyk. If you don't know who he is, just look up his behind the voice actor's profile. He's been in a lot. Off the top of my head, there's that stupid chicken in Moana, there's the Duke of Weselton in Frozen, the Duke of Weaselton in Zootropolis, there's Green Arrow in Young Justice, the Flash in Batman the Brave and the Bold, and many more. Basically think of him as C-3PO if he were a snarky bastard, and with a gun fixation that would make Texans blush. He had quite a few of the biggest laughs in the movie, but was by no means useless. He was incredibly tough and really great in the battle scenes. I mean, you've already seen that shot of him throwing the grenade behind him at the stormtroopers in the trailers, but there are loads of others like that. He's just like Marvin the paranoid android if he weren't so depressed. Okay, he's not quite as funny as Marvin, but I still absolutely loved him. But second best character definitely goes to Chirrut Îmwe, played by Donnie Yen. He was such a cool character to watch. He's the closest thing to the Jedi. He can't use the Force, but he mostly uses it as basically reading other people's emotions and also predicting stuff. He's kind of like a warrior monk. So basically Aang if he were blind. And the Jedi, almost. But he somehow made it credible that you can take out stormtroopers with a bow staff. I mean, okay, I don't doubt that since they're so stupid, but it was still really cool. And many of the best moments in the film, both comedy and action-wise, were split between him and K2. This movie also covers up one of the bigger plot holes that most people have picked in Star Wars Episode 4. I'm not going to spoil what it was, but unusual suspect, let's just say you need to update your things about what the original trilogy did wrong. Even though that problem still kind of counts considering this is a retcon. How this whole movie is a retcon now that I think about it, and I'm getting off track. I also really love the sense of hopelessness in this film. Whenever the Empire hasn't been this threatening since Episode 5, and just like in the Rebels cartoon, you really feel the sense that the Rebels are fighting these impossible odds, and constantly fighting just to survive, let alone win against the Empire. And this was helped by the fact that Edwards made a conscious decision to not have a Force-sensitive protagonist. I mean, as said, the closest is Chirrut, but he doesn't really have any of the typical Jedi powers. So yeah, with how much I've been praising the movie, this sounds like one of the best Star Wars movies. Unfortunately, while I think it's a good movie, it is a severely flawed movie as well. The biggest problem I personally have with it is that loads of the characters just feel so underdeveloped. As I said about the impossible odds, it does make you kind of care for the characters, or it would, if they were actually developed. I mean, Captain Cassian, played by Diego Luna, is kind of cool, but he doesn't get much character except for being a child soldier. And there's also this moral grey area which he brought up, which I thought they were going to do really well, considering they did it in Clone Wars extremely well, and they've been doing it good in Rebels as well. But after doing some kind of seedy actions once or twice, it's just solved with a short conversation with Jin. Just, I have to do these things for the war. No, you don't. Alright then. It's just so lazy. And there are lots of character beats that feel just underdeveloped. There's Bodhi, this pilot who defects from the Empire. We never find out why. I mean, loads of Rebels episodes have lots of defectors and go deep into their reasons for leaving the Empire. Like in the Antilles extraction, we finally see how Wedge Antilles, this really cool pilot guy from the original films, has joined the rebellion, and I thought they'd handled that well. But here, Bodhi just shows up already being taken before Forrest Whitaker's Saw Gerrera. It's just, I don't know. When a kid's cartoon can outdo what's supposed to be a really adult action movie, you've screwed up. And there's also Baze, this big heavy guy who goes around with Chirrut, and their relationship is kind of underdeveloped. It was entertaining, but just like with all the characters, I wish it had got more attention. And only really in the final act of the movie does it get any kind of payoff, other than a funny line here or there. I do kind of like the characters, and I want to see more of them, but that really, really stresses me out. But by far the most misused character in the film is Saw Gerrera. Now, I was actually pretty excited to see him in the film. I know, hype with a Star Wars movie, that never ends well. But since he was a Clone Wars character who was being brought over into the actual movies, I thought that was exciting, bringing a character from Clone Wars into the actual films. I mean, that's never happened before. But even though I think Whitaker gives a good performance, he's just kind of this crazy old man. Plus there's this father-daughter plot he has with Jin since he looked after her after her actual father was taken, but it's just, again, like the whole moral ambiguity thing, it's just a sentence and then he exits the plot in an incredibly stupid way. I just wanted to tear out my hair and throw it at the screen along with my poo. It was just such an idiotic way to handle this character. Also, Grand Moff Tarkin is in this film, with some incredibly off-putting motion capture. Now the effect itself, I think looks incredible, and shows how far motion capture's come, but it's kind of like the motion capture in all the Robert Zemeckis animated films like Polar Express. It looks quite amazing, but god damn is it creepy. And yeah, whenever you see Tarkin on screen, it's really damn distracting and off-putting. I mean, granted, they also de-aged Leia using the same technique, but she's only on screen for a few seconds. Tarkin's actually in it for most of the scenes with the Empire. I mean, they could have replaced him with Vader or something, but no. Plus, we also see it in close-ups. It looks okay far away, but in close-up, it's just so creepy, and it really takes you out of the scenes. Plus, the Empire villain they have through most of the film, Director Krennic, is not that threatening. Although it's pretty clear Mendelssohn's having some fun and really hams it up in a couple of scenes, there's just not much to this character except a typical mustache twirling, or would twirl his mustache if he had one, evil character. There are also lots and lots of references to the original trilogy that just feel pointless. I mean, on that desert planet you see the guy from the cantina, and his friend who gets his arm cut off by Obi-Wan, and they're just there. Plus R2 and 3PO show up at near the end when everyone's flying off for the battle, and I think that actually kind of breaks continuity since, as I said, Leia turns up in the climax in her ship, but it shows C-3PO and R2 on Yavin. So why aren't they there on the ship? And maybe they got on afterwards or something, but that does seem like a bit of a hiccup. But the biggest problem, other than the characters being underdeveloped, is the first half of the movie. It's so clumsy. It just jumps around from place to place with quite a bit of contrivance that's being to get all the characters together, and since the pacing is too quick, the introduction and establishment of the characters really suffers. But that said, once we get to the second half, the movie becomes, to put it lightly, freaking amazing. Both the space battle and ground assault on Scarif are tense, well shot, and just incredible to see. But the character who steals every scene is in is, of course, Darth freaking Vader. Kind of like in the Godzilla movie, although you do wish to see more of him, Vader just owns all the screen time he has and is incredibly scary. And the scene he gets in the finale, no spoilers, is the best scene he's had since I Am Your Father. That was so terrifying. I just had my mouth open for most of it, and oh god, I really do want to like this movie, but lots of parts hold it back. I do think Rogue One is a good movie, but I do feel like there's a great movie just trying to get out. I mean, the characters and the plot has so much potential, but minus the last battle, it doesn't really use it to its full extent. It just goes okay-ish. And of course, to address the big debate that's been going on for a while now, do I think Rogue One is better than The Force Awakens? Definitely not. Oh come on! Force Awakens said all its characters better, the direction was excellent, all the characters were... You almost got me! You're welcome. While the effects, direction and action are pretty much on par with both films, I found Force Awakens to be far more interesting and fun since the characters were so much better. It could just be that I had a much smaller cast and less new characters to set up, but I'm gonna remember Rey, Finn and Kylo Ren a hell of a lot more than Jyn, Cassian and all the other people except Chirrut and K2. The narrative flow was generally better and the characters were far more interesting, as they had time to be fleshed out. When Han Solo dies or Finn nearly gets killed battling Kylo Ren, it's utterly devastating, but when characters die in Rogue One, I want to feel bad, but I just don't know them well enough to. For all my criticism, I'd still give Rogue One a 7.5 out of 10. I definitely liked it, and I actually really loved it coming out of the cinema, but the more and more I thought about it, the more and more it just started to bother me, as I don't feel like it used its potential as well as it could. I don't think it's as good as the original trilogy or Force Awakens, but I'll still take it over the prequels any day. I'm Parax11, thank you for watching.